Welcome to Falcons Ledge. I'm Austringer, and today we're going to be reviewing the next iteration of the popular VKB Gladiator NXT. This is the Gladiator NXT EVO. But first, a little bit of channel news. A lot has been happening since the last full review I did. I had weight loss surgery back in May, and had some mildly life-threatening complications a couple weeks after. But everything is fine now. I'm fully recovered, and by the time that this review is published, I'll be down my first 100 pounds. Yes, sadly, I have about 175 pounds to go until I'm at my goal weight, but we've got a chunk taken off of it, which is already a good thing. I'm trying some new capture methods and setups, so bear with me while I get the setup that I want. So let's get down to the hardware. The SCG stick itself is unchanged from the original Gladiator NXT, so I won't go into the extreme details on it. What I can tell you quickly is the SCG grip is a fairly small grip overall, especially when compared to the flagship grip from VKB, the MCGU Ultimate. It doesn't make the grip too small for your hands. Quite large hands, I wear extra large gloves, and it is quite comfortable for me just by removing the lower pad. Don't think for a moment that it being a relatively small stick means that it's light on features either. CG features four-way hat switches with the center click, one of which by default is an analog hat. It can be changed over to a regular hat switch using the parts kit provided with the premium edition of the stick. It also features 2 dual triggers and 3 buttons. The internals of the SCG are one of the best laid out, best engineered sticks that I've reviewed. So if there isn't a difference in the stick, what makes the EVO different than a standard NXT? Well, looking at the outside, we only really pick up on one difference. On the left side of the base, where we used to have a second encoder, we have a self-centering axis. That's it. That's all the differences. On the outside. To the meat of the advantages that the EVO has over the standard GNX, we need to go inside the gimbal. To start with, the electronics have been revamped, but this isn't the part that you're going to notice. The parts that you're going to notice are the very parts that make this stick incredible at this price point. And that's saying something considering that the standard GNX was amazing on its own. Instead of using greased plastic bearings, which at this price point is the norm, you get ball bearings. I can't even tell you how much of an advantage this is for smoothness and longevity. It's huge. In addition to the ball bearings on each axis, you have 3 friction clutches, 2 on the y-axis, 1 on the x-axis. You can adjust these clutches here for the y-axis and here on the x-axis. These adjustable clutches, a first in this segment, is what makes this stick so versatile. You can also lock out the x-axis to use it as a throttle or a collective by putting this plate in here on the x-axis. So we'll show the stick in some of the different forms. I've linked a video in the description showing you how to convert your stick to each one of these configurations. We're going to start with one of my favorite setups for this stick, and that is as a helicopter collective. So we're going to fly DCS Apache out of the Marianas map on the DLQ mission. I originally recorded this video with a voice track, but I didn't really like it, so imagine helicopter noises. Please forgive my bad rudder control. I'm trying to get used to using my foot pedals, and unfortunately, right now I'm using Logitech PRO Pedals, and they're horrible. They're hitchy, uncomfortable, and they're ugly to boot. They're not super narrow like the competitors for the Logitech Pros at that price point. I'm using them without springs, which doesn't help much. So you'll see a few times where the aircraft yaws and it takes a second to correct it because the pedals get stuck. Alright, enough bashing on the pedals. Alright, so let's take off and head out to the fleet. The GNX EVO is adjusted so that it won't fall when using it vertically. Even in this configuration, it operates smoothly and is extremely accurate. It has plenty of controls to handle much of the controls that you'd like to have on your collective. I actually expected that having to tighten the clutches to this degree so that it wouldn't fall when mounted vertically like this, that it would be harder to move and wouldn't be as accurate. But no, it's smooth throughout its throw. If you're wanting to use the GNX EVO in this configuration, I've included a link to the STL on Thingiverse. It is a remix of another GNX mount. I printed it on 100% infill to make sure that it was strong enough. Now we're approaching the carrier. We'll get lined up and bring her down. And touchdown. Not at all too bad. Here we are heading back to the island for some scenic flying. As a helicopter collective, this looks to be the cheapest one on the market, and it works pretty well for its job too. Let's take a look at another use for the EVO. As a space sim, left-handed Omni throttle. I originally had a video using it without the Omni grip, but the video was corrupted halfway through. It works essentially the same, but the Omni, in my opinion, has better ergonomics, because the movements are more intuitive. Here we are, doing a Star Citizen racing experience. Be advised, I am not very good at it, so I'm taking it somewhat slow. It does show you how intuitive and smooth the left-hand work is in Star Citizen with this configuration. My current setup is such that I have both forward and reverse thrust, and there's a spring in the y-axis. This is mostly because I have a throttle in addition to the EVO. You could remove the Y-spring and use the Y-axis for forward-only movement and use a button to change to reverse thrust. This would solve any possible pilot fatigue for those of you who are overly concerned about it. I'm not really.
Checkpoint. Checkpoint.
Here we move on to Arena Commander, where we'll do a bit of combat. It would not let me use my arrow, so I'm using the constellation Taurus. Another oddity here is that for some reason, without any input or changes from me, it reversed my y-axis, so it was a bit confusing. I don't think that this is a problem with the stick, but rather Star Citizen. All in all, the EVO performs beautifully in Star Citizen. So now let's look at another use for the EVO, an aviation throttle. Here I've locked the X-axis and removed the Y-axis spring. I've adjusted the Y clutches so that the throttle will hold position, but it does not have too much friction. I have to admit that I was going to do some aerial F-16 refueling, but I'm so badly out of practice that it just didn't turn out really well. I never have been really great at boom refueling. I've always done far better at basket refueling. So I decided to chase an AI Viper around Syria instead. Even then, I'm pretty rusty on my formation flying, so it's still pretty bad. But it does demonstrate that the throttle is entirely capable of being used as a primary throttle, at least until the VKB throttle that shall remain nameless is released. As a throttle, the Omni grip is wonderfully ergonomic and smooth. And as I get into flying, I don't even notice that I'm using a joystick gimbal as a throttle axis. Though I don't use the buttons in this sequence because I don't need to, the buttons still feel ergonomic to reach. It isn't the same as using a regular throttle, it's just different. And once you get used to it, it's second nature. We've taken a look at some of the configurations, let's talk pros and cons. This section will be a little bit different because I've already reviewed the Gladiator NXT. There are a ton of pros, and rather than iterating through those that can be found in the Gladiator NXT video, let's focus on those that differentiate it from the Gladiator NXT. 1. Versatility. This stick is by far the most versatile stick in the segment. Nothing else can do what it does, and that is a big deal. Number 2. Ball bearings and dampers. These features help with the feel of the stick, its movement, and its longevity. And they're also a segment first. It has the same basic cons as the NXT. As far as I can see, no cons are unique to the EVO. I don't feel the need to reiterate those cons here, you can find them on the Gladiator NXT video. The Gladiator NXT EVO is, bar none, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, the most versatile flight stick in the mid-range segment. By my definition, is flight sticks up to $250 and HOTAS or HOSAS setups up to $350. Pretty much everything above the T16K and everything below the Warthog. The EVO is a great and unexpected successor to the venerable VKB Gladiator NXT. But for those of you that purchased the NXT before the EVO was available, VKB offers an upgrade to the NXT, which brings its gimbal up to the EVO standard, offering both ball bearing axis and clutches, as well as the ability to lock out the X-axis. This offers the same versatility in your original NXT. Think of another flight stick manufacturer that offers such an upgrade. What's even better is when you are ready to upgrade to an even better gimbal, VKB offers an upgrade to convert your NXT grip to a Gunfighter SCG grip. So, should you buy the VKB Gladiator NXT EVO? Not only should you buy it, it's my go-to recommended stick in HOSAS and HOTAS below $350. Even if you're looking to spend less, my recommendation is to save up a little more and just buy the EVO. I'm all about bang for your buck, especially when you're just starting out in flight sims, or you just don't have a huge budget. This is the biggest bang for your buck in all of flight sim hardware right now. They also offer one with an F-14 stick or Warbird stick on it if those are your preferences. Think about it. For $500, you could have a stick, a throttle, and a collective for flying helicopters. And that's only using the premium version of the stick. You could save a little bit more by going with the standard. However, I don't recommend that. The options that you get with this premium, well worth it. That about does it for this review. I really hope that you enjoyed it. It is a real challenge to get done, but certainly worth it. We have a review of the VKB MCGU coming up soon, so keep your eye out for that. We're also doing a giveaway when we reach 2,500 subs. To enter, all you need to do is leave a relevant comment on any of my videos from 2022. A random video will be chosen, and from those videos, I'll be using a random comment selector to select one of the comments. Keep in mind that the comment needs to be relevant to the video. Otherwise, I'll just select another comment. Anyway, I'm happy to be back making videos after my surgical hiatus. Thank you all. I appreciate your viewership and interaction. Fly safe, have fun, and of course, as always, have a great day.